Hey kids, thank you guys so much for joining me on today's intro video, of the Makers ACT English program. I'll be your ACT English teacher for this course. My name is Jin Bae. Guys, welcome to your classroom. So what I will do in today's video is just give you a brief overview, of the types of classes that we offer at Makers and the kind of work that you guys will be doing, depending on which class you're in. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, you guys. So the first thing that we'll have to do is we'll have to assess you, to see which level or which class is appropriate for you. So you'll be taking a diagnostic, test if you haven't studied ACT before. And depending on your score, you'll be placed into one of two classes, So one, we have our foundational class called our concept class. And two, we have our practice test class, called our 실전 level classes, And so you can come into this course, you guys, with no experience on the ACT, and still learn everything you need, to succeed on this test. So first, you guys, we'll talk about our concept class. So our concept class is for kids who are pretty brand new, to the ACT, or kids who who don't really have a strong foundational base in the English language. So in our concept class, what we'll be doing is during class, I'll be teaching you guys a series of lectures that first focuses on the building blocks, of the English language, So here we'll talk about the different parts of speech. There's seven of them on the ACT, 8 of them in the English language in total. We'll also talk about the ways that different parts of speech form. So when we talk about verb forms, we'll talk about how different verbs can be conjugated. You'll also learn a lot of the terminology, the English language or the grammar terminology that's necessary for you guys to be able to recognize on the test, and apply the knowledge that you need to get those questions correct. We'll also be learning, I'll also be teaching you guys the 17 different concepts or question types, that you'll be tested on for the ACT. And along the way, you'll be learning best practices, These will include the best tips, and strategies for how to answer questions, correctly most of the time. So during class, you'll be learning a lot, taking notes, listening to lectures, so that you guys can apply your knowledge when you guys see questions on the test, So what I've done is, for the 17 concepts and question types for the ACT, I broke down over 100 ACT actual exams, and I kind of categorized or arranged, the questions into 17 types, So there's two major categories of questions. The first are called grammar questions, So grammar could include punctuation, as well as sentence structure, like complete sentences or forming, incomplete sentences, run-on sentences, as well as verbs, pronouns, etc. The second major category, that you'll be tested on is what is called rhetoric. Now, rhetoric, you guys, is just the art or the style of writing. So rhetoric can include a lot of vocabulary questions, like diction questions, as well as transition questions, to see how two sentences relate to each other, whether they contrast, whether the second gives an example of the first, etc. Yeah. Also included in the rhetoric, you'll have a lot of reading comprehension styles of questions, that'll ask you questions based on, the topic of the essay or a part of the essay that you guys will be reading. Okay, so we'll be covering all of those, in the foundational class. Also, you guys, you'll be able to take this knowledge, and apply it when you're taking practice tests, So you'll be able to understand or know, that some answer choices are just ungrammatical, They're not grammatically correct. So you'll be able to easily recognize that and eliminate wrong answer choices, Because they don't either they violate some grammar rule or they don't exist, as grammar, as proper English grammar phrases, You'll also learn, some tips or strategies, in terms of rhetoric, maybe making educated guesses, so that you guys can get these questions correct in a speedy manner instead of having to stress or struggle over it, Now, also, we talked about the in-class, right, which will be going, you'll be learning a series of lectures, right, through a series of lectures. Now we have to talk a little bit about your homework, right? So again, for the homework, you guys, yeah, you'll be learning from a textbook that I wrote, right? So I wrote a textbook specifically for the ACT English section, right? And here it's all based on my observations, right, of analyzing over 7,500, right, ACT practice questions. You'll also be actually practicing or applying, right, the knowledge that you read, right, through a series of practice questions that focus on, right, each concept that you'll be tested on, right? So an example of how the textbook will look is you'll learn the foundations of English grammar. I'll teach you some of the rules, right, for grammar. So for example, punctuation rules, right? As well as the different ways that the ACT will test you on a particular concept, right? So for pronouns, for example, there are actually 6 different ways that the ACT will test you on pronouns. Cover all of that in your book. Also, you'll learn some of my step-by-step strategies or step-by-step processes, right, for how to answer certain types of questions, right, correctly. Also, you guys, the great thing about this class is you'll be practicing an actual test every Saturday, right? So, we're the only hagwon in Korea, right, that offers a computer-based test that looks and feels, right, like the actual ACT computer test, right? So you'll be practicing from that computer system, right, so that you guys get the sort of practice that you need, right, in terms of time management, in terms of the styles of questions, or the types of reading passages, right, that ACT will ask, yeah, for this test. Now, by the end of this course, you guys, yeah, you will have learned the sort of foundational building blocks, right, for the English language, as well as the concepts and the question types, right, that are answered. Right? You'll also get some practice, right, with those concepts in the form of practice questions from your workbook or your textbook, as well as from the mock exams. Now, by the end of this course, I know students like results. They like results, right? So do parents. So by the end of this course, right, a lot of the students who are in this course will start off by getting about 40 questions wrong or so, right, on the English section. So there's 75 total questions. Students in the concept class, right, will miss about half, right, or more of these questions, right? And by the end of this course, students will be able to, get, right, fewer than 20 wrong, right? If they're consistent with their studies, if they ask questions and do their homework daily, right, and do the practice questions, right, a lot of students, right, get around 20 wrong or so on an actual ACT practice test. Now, guys, if you're getting 20 wrong or fewer on the ACT English section and you're in the concept class, you're doing amazingly, right, for this class. And you'll be ready, right, for our practice level class, right, our second class during the summertime, okay? So that'll be your goal. Your goal isn't about the score, right? The goal more so for you guys is learning knowledge, right, is gaining the sort of knowledge, right, that you need, and also practicing applying it, right, being able to recognize, yeah, what style of question the ACT is asking, and trying to apply, right, your knowledge, right, to answer that question correctly, right? So moving on from our concept class, right, we have our second class, right, which is our practice test class. It's also known as our 실전 level class. Now, during class for the practice test kids, you guys will be working through a 2-step process. So first, you'll be taking daily, right, mock exams, right, based on our computer system, yeah? Nobody else offers. And secondly, you'll be reviewing with me, right, all of the questions that you guys got wrong on those practice tests, right? So you guys will be practicing, reviewing, right, every day you show up to class, right? That's a really good way to learn for this level of student, right? Typically, kids who are in the 실전 level class, they're getting a score of about 23 or 24 or so, right, on an actual ACT English test, right? There are many students who score higher, 28, 29, 30, right, for this class. Now, in terms of your review, you guys, or in terms of your mock exams, the wonderful thing about, being a student at Makers, right, is that you guys will be practicing just like the real test, right? So again, we're the only Hagwon in Korea, right, that offers our computer technology that looks and feels, right, just like the actual test. And the benefit to you guys by practicing this way, right, is you'll be simulating the actual test every single day, right? Now, how wonderful is that, right? You'll be managing your time, right? You'll know this is exactly how the actual ACT computer test looks, right? And how it functions, right? So the benefits to you guys is you'll know where all of the buttons are, right? You'll know the style of question, right? And how they ask it or how they present it to you guys, right? So getting that type of practice, you'll be prepared, right, for test day, right? There won't be any sort of surprises as well. Now, you'll also, after you take your mock exam, you'll be getting a daily report, right? Now, this daily report is wonderful because it really breaks down how you did on a particular test. So it'll show you certain concepts, right, that you might have struggled with, as well as, right, kind of easily or quickly, right, it'll help you to easily identify, right, the question types or the question numbers that you got wrong, right? So that'll help to speed up the process, right, for when I get ready to work with you guys, right, and review or go over or explain the answers that you guys missed. Now, in terms of our in-class review, you guys, this is where you'll be working with me, right? I'll cover all of the questions that you guys got wrong, right, on that particular test, right? And I'll give you guys, I'll kind of explain to you guys what goes on in my head, right, when I'm answering these questions. Now, for me, I've practiced a lot of ACT English tests, right? Over 100, and I can't say that I'm perfect, right? Every single time. I maybe get about one question wrong every 5 tests or so, right? But I've gotten pretty good, right, at this stuff. So I'll take you, when I explain a question that you guys got wrong, I'll take you through my thought process. So like first, in terms of recognizing what type of question, what concept they're testing you on, right? As well as looking at, right, the sort of context or the surrounding clues in the sentence that helps you to identify, right, what the correct answer is, right? So that's what we'll be doing, yeah, for 2 hours when you'll be working with me. Now, in terms of your homework, you guys, you'll also have to do some self-studying, right? Because it's impossible to cover, for me to teach you guys everything you need to know about the ACT test just during class time. So you guys will be reading a textbook, the textbook that I wrote, right, and designed just for this test. You'll also be reviewing, right, your practice test that you took, kind of thinking about, right, your experience as you were taking it, yeah? Reviewing the questions that you guys got wrong, right, taking notes, right, on why you got those questions wrong so that you can learn, right, from your mistakes. Also, you'll be training, right, taking some practice, answering some practice questions, right, based off of, yeah, sort of the chapters that you'll be assigned to read for homework. So in terms of how the reading and note-taking, right, will kind of look, yeah, you'll be reading from that textbook that I wrote, yeah, and designed just for this test. Also, you'll be taking some notes, right, based on the reading. So this is an example of a student, right, of mine, wonderful student, yeah, of how she took notes, right, during her, for her homework assignments. Also, in terms of reviewing the test, I believe in Korea we call this like ODAP notes, right? So this is an example of a student who took wonderful ODAP notes, right? She kind of wrote her thoughts, not just on the questions that she got wrong, but also for every single question, right? She just wrote down her thoughts in terms of, things to kind of look for, things to watch out for, right? Things that she didn't know that she realized, right, when we were going over the questions in class. Now, you might not be able to see this well, but that's okay, right? Just know that the ODAP notes, right, you'll also have to do for this class. Now, in terms of the training, you guys, yeah, based on your reports, right, you'll be able to see which concepts or question types you guys are weak at, right? So if you guys are weak at verbs or reading comprehension styles of questions, right, what we'll do is I'll give you guys different exercises, right, different practice questions that allow you to practice and improve upon those weak areas. Right, so I'm not just going to assign you guys just random practice questions, but I'm going to assign you guys practice questions based on your weaknesses. Right, now how awesome is that? Right, so if you have a class full of 20 kids, you'll still be getting personal homework. Right, so you'll be getting that sort of like individual experience, right, even when you're in a class setting. Right, so I think that's a huge benefit, right, for this class. Now you might be thinking, you guys, oh, before I actually get into that, look, my goal for the practice level kids, right, for the Shichun class, my number one priority for you guys is to help you get your score, right? Now, the goal that I set for each and every Shichun student is to be able to get fewer than 5 wrong consistently, right? Now, what I mean by consistently is test after test after test, right? So it's not getting 5 wrong on one test and then getting 15 wrong on the next test, right? It's to be able to get about 4 or 5 wrong, right? 3 or 4 tests in a row, right? That's my number one priority for you guys. Yeah, and I believe that should be your, right, number one priority as well, right? So basically, because of that goal, you guys, yeah, everything else, everything that I do is all for that goal, right? So during this time that you guys are working with me in class, use me as much as you can, right? Or as much as you want as a resource, right? So if you guys want to meet with me individually, right, to cover some concepts that you guys are still struggling with, right? I'd be happy to do that. Whatever it takes, you guys, yeah, to help you get your scores. Now, you might be thinking, man, Jin teacher, this sounds like a lot of work, right? And you're right. Right? But guys, nothing meaningful, no meaningful goal, right, is able to be achieved without effort, right? So you have to put in this sort of work, right? But the kind of work, the quality of work that you do does matter. Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes is, look, goals are meaningless without the right systems in place, right? So you can have all the goals in the world that you want, right? I want to win the gold medal, right? I want to get a perfect score on the ACT English test. You can have every single goal that you want, right? But you won't be able to achieve any of those goals if you don't have the right systems in place. Now, the systems are the day-to-day processes, right? The day-to-day work that you put in, right? And so, look, I believe that our program, we have developed a system that works, right? So the system is basically, you guys will be practicing, right? Reviewing, right? Self-studying, right? Reviewing at home, isolating weaknesses, training, right? And repeating that process, right? That system works extremely well, right? For the Shichun level class. In fact, students who go through our program, about 90% of them, right? Score about at least a 33 or a 34 on the ACT English test, right? So this is statistically proven or evidenced. Last summer, right, 90% of our kids scored at least a 34 out of 36, right, on the ACT English test, right? These were students who, showed up to class every single day, worked with me for about 4 to 6 weeks, right? They were able to get those kind of scores. 90%, right, of those kids were in the top 98th percentile in the world for the ACT English test. Right? So that type of work or that consistent work does pay off, you guys. And in fact, just wanted to give you guys a little case study of one particular student. Although there's many, I don't have time to show you all of the students who got that sort of 34 score. But this is an example of one student. I kind of, deleted some parts of his name for privacy purposes. But we'll just call him Tae. Right, so day 1, you guys, yeah, notice his score, right? He was getting 28 wrong, yeah, out of 75 questions. And he's a Shichun level kid, right? So within about a week, during day 6, yeah, June 23rd, you guys can see that, right? He was getting about 15 wrong or so, right? Now, Tae was a wonderful student, yeah? He put in the work every single day. Now, some days he did score worse, right, than other days. Yeah, he wasn't progressing or getting better every single class. Some days went up, some days went down, right? But he could put in that work consistently. Now, after about 3 weeks or so of class, he was able to get about 3 wrong, right? Now he was able to get fewer than 5 wrong, right? Pretty much every single test, right, after that point. Yeah, so about a month after he started, he was getting about 2 wrong, right? 2 or 3 wrong per test. Yeah. And so, guys, I just have one last question, right, before I kind of finish today's video is, guys, are you ready to maximize your potential, right, and master the ACT? You know, I know it seems like a very big task, right, but you guys are able to do it, right? One thing about me is I completely, to the core of my being, right, I believe in change, right? I believe that students can learn, can get better, you know? It is a process though. You know, and you can't just focus on your goals, right? You can't just focus on the results. You have to focus on the work that you're putting in every single day. But I have seen this time and time and time again, right? Where students can change, right? They can change their lives. They can change one part of their life, right? Just by putting in that sort of work, you guys, yeah? So if you're ready, right, to maximize, right, your abilities, yeah, and to see how great you can actually be on this test, guys, please sign up, okay? Just feel free to give us a call and join us for our spring program. Yeah, no matter what class you're in, if you're in the foundational class, fantastic. I love working with the concept level kids. Right, I'll prepare you guys as well as I possibly can so that during the summertime, you'll be able to jump into or level up into the practice level class. For the practice level kids, give us a call, right? We'll set you guys up, your computer systems up, right? So that you guys will be taking practice tests like the actual exam every single class day, yeah? And I'll prepare you guys to the best of my abilities so that you guys will be able to succeed and get the scores that you guys want for your April test, okay? Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Jin Bae. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care.